Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. It is so great to see you all out here today. Right now, at this very moment, lawyers and judges are gathering at courthouses all across the country. More than 75 events in more than 25 states, thousands of legal professionals, all of us standing in public together saying the same thing. The rule of law is not negotiable. That is what you are part of today, and I'm so glad you're here. My name is Tracy Fight Love. I am the founder and executive director of Lawyers for Good Government. For almost 10 years, we have mobilized lawyers in defense of democracy, civil rights, and the rule of law. I have never been more proud of this profession than I am right now, and I have never felt more urgency about what we are called to do. Today, I'm going to ask you for 3 things. None of them will be easy, but if you choose to accept this invitation, they will bring meaning. And right now, meaning matters. I'm going to ask you for your attention. I'm going to ask you for your bravery. And I'm going to ask for your commitment. So let's start with attention, because that seems like the easy one, but it isn't. It turns out over the past few decades, our attention spans have decreased to the point where we can barely make it through an 8-second video without swiping. And that is not only bad for us individually, it's actually dangerous for our democracy. Democracy depends on an informed, engaged citizenry, and it depends on an informed, engaged legal profession. Without lawyers paying attention, really paying attention, it is all too easy for a small group of powerful people to rewrite the rules for the rest of us, to dismantle guardrails quietly, incrementally, betting that we are too busy or too tired or too overwhelmed to notice. And I understand why it's hard. Paying attention to what is happening right now in our country and around the world will break your heart. And for lawyers especially, there is an added pressure. The pressure to stay neutral, to stay above the fray, to tell yourself this is political and therefore not our problem. But here is what I need you to hear. This is not political. This is professional. This is about the oath we took. And many lawyers, even now, are still underestimating the gravity of this moment. So I'm asking you to look directly at what is in front of us. We have watched executive orders go out targeting law firms, not for wrongdoing, but for representing clients adverse to this administration. We have watched judges threatened with impeachment for issuing lawful rulings. We have watched court orders, hundreds of them, treated as optional. We have watched people, human beings, swept off our streets with no charges, no hearing, no process, and deposited into foreign prisons. And we've watched a foreign war get launched without congressional approval. We are not watching a threat on our horizon. We are living inside of it. And we are standing today in front of the United States Supreme Court, the institution whose entire authority rests, as Alexander Hamilton wrote, on nothing but judgment. No army, no treasury, just the rule of law and our collective commitment to honor it. Our commitment, lawyers, that has always been true, and it has never mattered more than it does right now. If we are truly paying attention, we understand what is at stake. And if we understand what is at stake, the next ask follows naturally. I am asking you to be brave. Brave enough to stand here in public with your name attached and say, not on our watch. Brave enough to look at this moment for what it is and refuse to accept it. Brave enough to remember why most of us went to law school in the first place. Not for wealth or status, but because we believed in justice. We believed in the power of law to protect the vulnerable and hold the powerful accountable. The legal profession has faced dark moments before. During McCarthyism, during the civil rights era, at every pivotal point in our history, there were lawyers who did not stay quiet, who filed the brief, who took the case, who showed up. Those lawyers are the reason we still have a Constitution worth defending, and that is the tradition we are part of. That is the tradition we are accountable to. This is our moment, and being here today is an act of bravery. I want you to know that. But bravery without commitment is just a feeling. So here's my third ask. I'm asking for your commitment, not just to today, but to what comes after today. Showing up here matters. It matters enormously. The image of legal professionals gathered publicly in front of this court sends a message that cannot be dismissed. But this cannot be the end of your obligation. When we raised our right hands and took our oaths, we did not swear to care about the Constitution. We swore to support and defend it. That is active, that is ongoing, and right now it is demanding. Every one of us, whatever kind of law we practice, has something to contribute. Transactional lawyers can make sure their firms are not capitulating to political pressure. Litigators can find the case that needs filing. Every lawyer can do pro bono work for the people most directly harmed by what is happening. Every lawyer can show up to a school board meeting, a city council meeting, a town hall, and explain to their neighbors what due process actually means. Every lawyer can refuse to be quiet. This is not a spectator moment. We are not here to witness history. We are here to make it. Before we hear from our remarkable speakers, people who have been living this commitment every single day, I want to acknowledge two groups in this crowd. First, to the current and former civil servants in attendance, especially those who may have lost their jobs fighting for the rule of law from inside our government. We see you. We are so grateful for you. And we are here because of you. I also want to recognize the members of Congress who are here with us today. We extended invitations to every member of Congress who holds a law degree across party lines and asked them to come and stand with us. Those who are here today made a choice to show up publicly. That matters. And today, you'll hear from two of them. Congressman Glenn Ivey from Maryland and Senator Mazie Hirono from Hawaii. Thank you both for being here today. I also want to thank the co-sponsors who, along with Lawyers for Good Government, made this event possible and who represent the full breadth of this profession in the DC area, united across every practice area, every background, every bar. The American Constitution Society, Capital Area Muslim Bar Association, Constitutional Accountability Center, CREW, DC Caribbean Bar Association, DC LGBTQ+ Bar Association, the Hispanic Bar Association of the District of Columbia, the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, the National Women's Law Center, the Trial Lawyers Association of Metropolitan Washington, D.C., the Washington Council of Lawyers, Women Lawyers on Guard, and the Women's Bar Association of the District of Columbia. Thank you all so much. Before I introduce our speakers, I will stop and recognize the people in this crowd who have put their names, and in some cases their livelihoods and their safety, on the line for our Constitution. First, to the current and former civil servants in this crowd who I mentioned just a moment ago, many of whom took their own oath to the Constitution, and some of whom have recently lost their jobs fighting for the rule of law inside our government. Thank you. We honor your service. We are here because of you. Next, I want to honor our servicemen and women. If you are active duty or if you are a veteran, thank you for your service. Thank you. You remind us that our commitment to the Constitution runs deeper than any one profession. And finally, to everyone who continues to speak up and speak out, regardless of title or status, in defense of our democracy, legislative independence, and due process, thank you for being here. This is what this moment is made of, every single one of you. So now, it is my honor to introduce our first set of speakers representing General Counsels United. Sandy Peck, and Ricardo Anzaldúa. Ricardo Anzaldúa is the recently retired General Counsel of Everest Insurance Group, having previously served as General Counsel of MetLife and Freddie Mac. He is best known in the profession as a champion of diversity and inclusion and legal aid initiatives. He began his career in equal justice in the early 1970s as a voter registrar and community organizer for Southwest Voter Education, a project of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Sandy Peck has served as in-house counsel for public and privately held companies in the DMV since 2011, including as general counsel of Tower Companies and DC Green Bank. She has held various leadership and advisory roles over the course of her career, including serving as a board member of the Association of Corporate Counsel, National Capital Region. Sandy and Ricardo are both members of GCs United, a collective of more than 850 current and former general counsels and chief legal officers supporting the rule of law in the U.S. We are so pleased you're here today with us. Sandy and Ricardo.
Good afternoon. I'm going to start and then I'll bring Sandy. Oh, Sandy, you came with me.
Hi, everyone. So glad to see you all here.
So thank you, Tracy, for the kind introduction, and thanks to all of you for the honor and privilege of speaking to you today at this significant ceremony, reaffirming our unity, our commitment, and our determination to uphold the rule of law in the United States of America. Before we launch our discussion of why it's important for a couple of senior in-house lawyers to be here today, please allow us a moment to echo Tracy Fight Love's thanks to all of the courageous leaders and organizations that are already standing up for the rule of law and staring down those who are attacking it. To Tracy herself, Sterling Howard, and all the amazing staff at L4GG who have demonstrated leadership and tenacity in organizing and pushing forward this initiative for lawyers to perform their duty of defending the rule of law, especially now that it is under mortal attack. And finally, thanks to all of you for your presence here today in support of the rule of law. I had prepared some remarks for today, but my plan changed last night after I had the honor and privilege of breaking bread with a few colleagues, including two partners from Perkins Coie. Perkins is one of the four extraordinarily courageous law firms that stood up in the face of the executive orders issued in the first days of the current administration to retaliate against those, as Tracy mentioned, for having had the audacity to represent clients who asserted rights in opposition to certain unnamed persons in the current administration. Those four firms, Perkins, Jenner & Block, Sussman Godfrey, and Wilmer Hale, stood up to show all of us what's required when we encounter arbitrary abuses of authority. Let's have a cheer for Perkins, Jenner, Sussman Godfrey, and Wilmer Hale. Our dinner conversation last night focused, of course, on the imperative of the day, to stand up and defend our rights against the law firm executive orders of early 2025. And we're confident that we're going to prevail in having the law firm EOs struck down. But being lawyers, we quickly pivoted the discussion to the obvious next question. What about next time? What if this president does the same thing again? Or what if another president in the near future copies the model of abuse and intimidation, the strategy of using the power and resources of government to grind our constitutional protections out of existence? Will we again witness what we saw this time, with the majority of the targets folding with a whimper? Will we see the vast majority of the profession stand by silently as the courageous few fight the fight, with almost no support from the rest of us? Will they again hear hang-ups and slam doors when they call upon their colleagues to sign amicus briefs? Will we see the vast majority pretend that everything is okay as the abusers pick off each target and grind them into submission? I think the answer to that has to be a resounding no. And it has to start here with us today. We all need to recognize our collective duty implicit in our oaths of admission that we will be reaffirming in just a few minutes to protect the rule of law. Our duty to protect and defend the Constitution, as Tracy said, the rule of law, our democracy, and the great, powerful institutions that rest upon those foundations. And perhaps most importantly, to protect the great engine of commerce, of productivity, of wealth that's been made possible by all those foundations and the freedoms to build and create that are at the heart of our economic system. As lawyers, we mostly practice our craft without much thought to the system on which our work and our livelihoods depend. When we participate in events like this one today, we feel like we're doing a good deed. Being here today is not just a good deed, and it's not enough. It's not enough because this moment demands that each of us look inside and find the courage to pay forward to the descendants, to our descendants, the blessings of democracy that we have been lucky enough to inherit. As I lay awake last night, unable to sleep because of the excitement of that dinner conversation, thinking about the courage of the four firms and the courage that this moment requires of all of us, I recalled a conversation that took place nearly 250 years ago between a couple of guys from Massachusetts, John Hancock and Ben Franklin. Ben had by then moved to Philly, and that's where the conversation took place, just a couple of hours drive from here, and even less if you can beat the traffic. The occasion was the energizing and solemn occasion of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. We all know the story, but let's repeat it because it's so necessary at this moment. John had just told a group of his Confederates in liberty that the moment required unanimity, that they could no longer pull in different directions. They must all hang together. And that's when Ben famously quipped, "We must all hang together or we'll all hang separately." I'm sure the gallows humor caused at least a few of these legendary libertarians to chuckle, but the comment was dead serious. They knew if the revolution failed, they would very likely face the death penalty for treason. And yet they boldly made their statements, staked their lives, their honor, and their fortunes on the great American experiment that they were about to launch, and backed their words with a violent struggle to make it all real. That, ladies and gentlemen, is courage. Our present moment doesn't demand nearly as much of us. And it gladdens my heart to see all of you here today taking the first step of fortitude that is so needed at this moment by our beloved country and by all the countries of the world that look to us for leadership. It's become glaringly clear that when I say us, I'm no longer talking about an abstraction of representative government, a group of people with delegated authority whom we trust to do the right thing. It's you, it's me, telling our fellow citizens and the world that we are here standing up to do the right thing, to protect our great American experiment, to protect, defend, and uphold the Constitution and the rule of law. In the last 15 months, we've learned that we must stand and fight. Past governmental abuses notwithstanding, never before have we seen a government that so openly defied the system, disregarding judicial orders, attacking judges and prosecutors, launching retaliatory legal actions against political opponents, and otherwise manifesting overt contempt for the law and its processes. Raw, blatant, unmitigated abuse of governmental authority. As if the administration were saying, this is what we're doing, let's see what you're going to do about it. Well, we're here to do what has to be done. We are here, Democrats, Republicans, independents, representatives of every party and political persuasion, to stand up and protect the rule of law. As we ponder our duty to protect the rule of law, let's remember that our duty requires us to stand firm for the freedom of the press, the sunlight that keeps democracy alive, to defend the independence of the judiciary, free from political pressure or intimidation, and to uphold due process. We need to galvanize our collective courage. We need to remember the past sacrifices that produced the great blessings that we enjoy today. We need to remember Hancock and Franklin. From here forward, we must insist that all office holders in our land adhere to the principle that in democracy, the rule of law is paramount, and no one is above, below, or beyond the reach of the law. We must take action to hold all office holders in our land accountable to this principle, and we must do so loudly and insistently. Please watch the Lawyers for Good Government website for follow-on actions that we can all take to protect our Constitution, the rule of law, and our democracy. Let's say it this way. We cannot accept and will not abide rogue leadership that seeks to use the power of government to undermine the rule of law and the Constitution itself. Let's make those words the new rule for our great American system and insist that all holders of elective office adopt them and adhere to them. And with that, let me turn it over to Sandy Pak, who will speak about the special role of lawyers in the private sector to protect the rule of law.
It's so great to see so many familiar faces here, especially colleagues from the Association of Corporate Counsel and the local chapter of the National Capital Region. As lawyers, we have a sworn duty to support the Constitution. And should we fail to perform it, then our country will face an existential crisis. I respectfully dissent with the premise that the legal profession will passively stand by and watch in silence while democracy fades away before our very eyes. America's economic success has long relied upon the stability provided by the independence of the judiciary and the legal profession. The notion that companies can expect the predictability of due process has paved the way for the private sector to preserve the U.S. legacy of business innovation and progress. The rule of law is what guarantees the American way of life, protecting people and property from the harms of injustice, whether from crime, corruption, or the abuse of government power. Earlier this year, we saw the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce and CEOs call for peace in their community and the return of a stable business environment. Chief legal officers know the critical need for all to respect the rule of law. Before January 2025, CLOs and companies would hire lawyers to conduct political risk due diligence on countries they were considering doing business in. In these strange times, CLOs have noted that now they conduct that same political risk due diligence on the very lawyers they seek to hire. Recently, the Global Association of Corporate Counsel released a CLO action plan, recognizing these emerging and complex concerns. The action plan appropriately frames the erosion of the rule of law as an enterprise risk for companies, particularly the threats and attacks on judicial independence. Thank you. It's imperative that we all recognize that a threat to the independence of any one judge on any one lawyer is a threat on the whole of the legal profession. I believe this time is heralding in a season of professional renewal for the legal profession. Your presence here is clear and convincing evidence of this. I stand here with faith in the heart and soul of the legal profession, that as the lifeblood of justice, this is the time for the profession to speak with one voice in support of the rule of law. This is the time to be seen and heard, to stand together as lawyers. This is our time to issue a Declaration of Independence for the entire legal profession. That we can, we must, and we will act in concert in support of the rule of law. People have wondered, where are the lawyers? I say we are here. What do you say? I urge you to join me in sending that message loud and clear. This is our time. Democracy is waiting for us. As our nation's founders expected of us, let the world hear us, see us, defend the rule of law, and the American dream. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandy and Ricardo. Next up, we are going to hear from Phil Brest. Phil became ACS's president, the American Constitution Society's president, in January 2026 after serving as senior counsel in the Biden White House, where he led judicial nominations and helped confirm 235 Article III judges, more than any administration in nearly 50 years. Previously, he was chief nominations counsel to then chair Dick Durbin on the Senate Judiciary Committee, where he led the Senate's efforts to confirm Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson and numerous, yes, thank you, and numerous other judicial and Justice Department nominees. Phil Brest, thank you.
Thank you, Tracy, for that very kind introduction. The American Constitution Society is proud to support the Law Day of Action, and I want to thank all the partners and organizers of this event, my fellow speakers, Tracy, General Counsels United, Senator Hirono, Representative Ivey, Transformative Justice Coalition, and Judge Herb Dixon. And of course, a big thank you to all the members of the legal community attending today. It's important that we're gathered here publicly as lawyers and citizens to recommit ourselves to the Constitution and the rule of law. We're here to take a stand for the constitutional principles that protect everyone: equal justice under law, due process, judicial independence, checks and balances, and professional integrity. In theory, I can't think of a better place to gather to do this than on the steps of the Supreme Court. In practice, though, the court's majority has undercut these same principles, even the principle emblazoned above the court's doors. But as we gather here today, we must do more than lament the many ways in which this court has undermined our freedoms and rolled back hard-won rights. We must stand together, continue to demand a constitution that works for all Americans, and ensure that we, as lawyers, are the vanguard of defending the rule of law. Now more than ever, we need organizations like the American Constitution Society, and we need dedicated, principled people like you. After all, the protections of the Constitution mean little without a collective will to act. Our republic faces unprecedented challenges: a weaponized Justice Department, a congressional majority that has abdicated its role as a check on the executive, a court that just days ago continued its all-out assault on the Voting Rights Act. And it falls to all of us as attorneys to meet these challenges head on. And so, despite the dark days, I'm heartened that the legal community, you all, have showed up here today. Gathering across the country today is about refusing to normalize attacks on judges, the courts, and the legal profession. When lawyers, judges, law students, and other members of the legal community stand together in public, we remind the country that these principles, due process, equal protection, separation of powers, are not simply abstractions. They are the guardrails that protect everyone. And when the legal profession shows up together, we make clear that these principles are non-negotiable. Today matters, but the real test is what happens after today. The fight for constitutional principles is not a one-day fight. It's long-term work, and it's generational work. It means defending due process even when it's inconvenient. It means insisting that legal rules apply the same way to everyone. It means defending judges, lawyers, and legal institutions when they come under pressure for simply doing their jobs. One reason I believe so deeply in the American Constitution Society is that this organization is built to meet the challenges we're facing now and to support the kind of long-term work that is necessary to fix current democratic backsliding, to strengthen democratic legitimacy and uphold the rule of law. But the work can't be done alone. It requires community, relationships, and institutions that outlast any one news cycle or any one administration. And what we have here today is that community. We are building relationships as we speak, and together we're strengthening democratic institutions. So at ACS, we'll continue to pair lawyers in our network with individuals and organizations most in need of pro bono legal services. We'll continue to give a platform to our students and academics and practitioners as they use scholarship and litigation and policymaking to improve people's lives. We'll continue to bolster judges when they come under attack for simply following the law. We'll strengthen the next generation to continue to uphold these ideals, cultivating early career lawyers and leaders, mentoring students, supporting young lawyers, building the bench and the bar for the future, developing the intellectual capital, the theories of interpretation and accountability and reform that will propel us out of this morass. That's how constitutional values endure beyond the immediate crisis. So I hope that you'll join us in this work, that your efforts to stand up for the rule of law and our justice system will extend beyond this one day of action. Thank you again for joining this incredible event today. It's more important than ever to keep the faith, to show up, to meet this moment, and to prepare for a better and brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Phil. Next up, we have Congressman Glenn Ivey, representing the 4th District of my home state of Maryland. Congressman Ivey is an attorney who served on Capitol Hill as Chief Counsel to the Senate Majority Leader, as Counsel to Senator Paul Sarbanes during the Whitewater investigations, Chief Majority Counsel to the Senate Banking Committee, and on the staff of Representative John Conyers. He also worked for U.S. Attorney Eric Holder as an Assistant U.S. Attorney and as Chair of Maryland's Public Service Commission. He was twice elected as State's Attorney for Prince George's County, where he worked with the Obama administration to cut crime. He was inspired by the civil rights movement as he grew up in the segregated South. He is in his 2nd term as Congressman from Maryland's 4th Congressional District. Please help me welcome Representative Ivey.
Thank you, Tracy. How you doing out there? You ready to keep fighting? We got to keep going. We got to keep going. I just came from a group of high school students. Traditionally, I would do, law day, I would go to speak to high schools and we tell them how courts worked and that kind of thing. This year, today and last night, I spoke to a group of high school students who were having their law day. They're kind of wondering what's going to be there when they finally get through law school. What kind of courts are we going to have? What kind of laws are we going to have? What kind of country are we going to have? And so I'm glad that you're here today to answer that question. We're going to fight to take our country back, fight to keep the rule of law, fight to make sure we keep everything moving in the right direction like it had been before Trump got there, right? We got to keep this fight going. Now, one of the things I think, I don't know, man, there's so much you could talk about. War Powers Act today expires. And instead of just complying with it and, come and, work with Congress, they start making this stuff up about there's a ceasefire, so we don't have to obey the law. And I'm like, you got thousands of troops and ships and they're still over there. You got a blockade going. What do you mean the war is over? Well, they're afraid. Anytime anything comes up with the law, they're afraid to confront it. Anytime they have to go into a court, they're worried about it because they know that you have to produce evidence and follow the law, or at least you're supposed to, or else you get in trouble, right? How many of you all are practicing trial lawyers? Have been used to? Okay. And I got Cheryl Stein over here, a friend of mine from 40 years ago. I know I don't look that old, right? But, you know, we've been fighting that fight. And, you know, you go into court and the judge asks you a question. You're supposed to tell the truth when you answer the question. These guys lie all the time. It is incredible. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is in my district. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he's done a great job. And no, more importantly, the lawyers who've represented him have done a great job, right? They tried every trick in the book to lock this guy up, to say he was a terrorist, all this stuff. They made up all this stuff about it. Every time they go to court, though, they lose. Every time they go. That's why we have an independent judiciary and strong lawyers representing them, right? Democracy forward. How many of you all heard of democracy forward? It's incredible what they're doing. I've never heard of these guys 2 years ago. Right now, though, they have 500 cases going against the Trump administration. In fact, they were maybe the key bulwark to stop the initial push when he came into office. They started suing. They started winning the injunctions at the district court level. You get to this level, it's a problem because that's that 6-3 split we saw in the Voting Rights Act case, right? But at the district court level, where the judges make the decisions based on the evidence and the law, we keep winning, right? That's why we have to keep fighting. And so I'm glad that you're out here today. We've got to keep fighting on that front. We've got to keep fighting to return the Department of Justice to where it was. There was a stretch where I was a federal prosecutor. There was later though I was a criminal defense lawyer. I'm gonna tell you, I didn't always agree with what DOJ decided in my cases, right? But at least it was based on the merits. Now they're just making stuff up. This Comey indictment. Are you serious? Are you serious? Dude's standing on a beach with some shells in the sand, and he's a threat to the president? You gotta be kidding me, right? But that's what they're doing. So one thing I want to ask about that, and I started pushing this yesterday on the news, was we need to hold the prosecutors who push these cases out. We need to hold them accountable too, right? Every state in the union has this thing called bar council or something like that. Pam Bondi's getting to know a lot more about it than she did before, and rightly so. I can't pass this one up. You remember when she was testifying in front of the Judiciary Committee and she told Jamie Raskin he was a washed up lawyer? Guess who's washed up now? And rightly so. But we got to hold these people accountable. We've got to make sure that when they sign those documents, whether it's the filings with the court or when they stand in front of the judge and don't tell the truth, they need to have their ticket pulled so that sends the message back to other lawyers, right? Because we all know that if they are held accountable, they'll stop playing those kind of games, right? And that's why we got to push for it. And the other part, too, there's accountability at every level, not just at the highest levels, but the ICE agents. I was out in Minneapolis right before they killed Alex Preddy, but after they killed Good. They were hiding the evidence. In fact, they still are. They're afraid to give Keith Ellison, the state attorney general, he's the one that put Derek Chauvin in jail. If they give him the evidence in these cases, Derek Chauvin's going to have a cellmate. Tell you what, because those guys are going to get locked up for killing Good and especially Preddy. And they should be held accountable, not just like by firing, but criminally, they need to be held accountable too. We've got a lot of fronts to fight on, but we've got to keep the fight going, and we need to make sure that we don't rest. The kids that I talked to yesterday and earlier today, they're counting on us to do this the right way and to not give up. And the people who aren't lawyers, who can't get into a court, can't afford to pay a lawyer, they're counting on us to preserve the rule of law and protect this democracy. Are we ready? Are we up for it? Are we going to keep winning? We got to turn the tide. We got to stay focused. We got to preserve the rule of law, and we got to fight, fight, fight. Thanks for coming out and have a great day. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much, Congressman Ivey. In a moment, I am pleased to introduce Senator Mazie Hirono. Senator Hirono has served in the Hawaii State House of Representatives as Lieutenant Governor of Hawaii and in both chambers of Congress. A senior member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, she is a lawyer by training and an advocate for civil rights and equal justice under law, especially for immigrants and minority groups. Thank you so much for being here, Senator Hirono.
Okay. Well, aloha, everybody. It's a beautiful day for us to gather and recommit to fighting for the rule of law. And I tell you, we definitely have our work cut out for us. I do have a few remarks here. You know, democracy is under attack. We know this. That's why you're here. Democracy is attacked. And the rule of law, checks and balances, are what makes our democracy work. And that is what makes a democracy different from all other forms of government. But we do not have a rule of law when you have a president who doesn't believe the rule of law applies to him. We do not have checks and balances when the Congress and the executive are pretty much controlled by one person. That would be Trump, who does not believe the rule of law applies to him. So what's happening is every single day this regime, and I call it a regime because of its authoritarianism, engages in acts of illegality, whether it's illegal tariffs, illegal war, illegal immigration enforcement, you name it. They are very busy disregarding the rule of law. And so when Pam Bondi came to testify before the Judiciary Committee, and I said to her, for one thing, Trump believes, well, at that time she's no longer there, but you know he believes that she is his personal lawyer, and the Department of Justice is not independent. He considers it his law firm. So I said to her, you are not running an independent Justice Department. You are running a Department of Retribution and Revenge. She didn't dispute that. Wow. Okay, this is one of the few times that maybe they kind of acknowledge the truth. So you have thousands of lawyers, experienced lawyers who have left the Department of Justice. It has been hollowed out of people who actually go after white collar crimes, who enforce our civil rights laws, and so many of them are now very busy trying to do the kind of immigration reform that is ending up with thousands of people being locked up with no due process of law. So thousands of lawsuits, habeas corpus cases, cases that try to stop Trump from withholding funding for contracts that have already been approved by the administration, millions and millions of dollars that have been appropriated by Congress. So it makes my head spin every single day, the overt lawlessness of this regime. So frankly, this is where, let's not forget the Supreme Court decision. We're standing here. And I mean, look at this edifice. Aren't they supposed to be protecting our rights and privileges and protecting voting rights and all that? Not this Supreme Court majority. I think it's kind of, what is it, telling that we're here. But just a few days ago, you all know that they pretty much eliminated the last vestiges of the Voting Rights Act that protect minority voting. So we have to fight back. And I'm glad as I was standing here waiting for my turn to speak, I met some people who, as a result of the lawlessness that, especially Trump too, that there are people out there who are organizing. Barbara, there's a person I met named Barbara. Where is she? Okay, there she is. So, you know, there are many groups that are forming and have formed to protest and to file lawsuits, to do all the things that we lawyers are trained to do. We are trained to be advocates. We are not trained to be sitting on our asses. So, if there was ever a time for us to fight for democracy, this is it, folks. And I figure since you guys are here and the sun is really nice and all that, but you each, I hope, has made a commitment to do something very specific. You may be involved in one of the many lawsuits that have been filed to protect our voting rights. I mean, so maybe some of you are working with Mark Elias. Maybe you're working with all these groups. That every single one of you and whoever you can reach out to needs to make a commitment to protect the rule of law, the checks and balances that are completely under assault. And that is what I'm asking. This is a call to action day. And I will keep on doing everything I can as a member of the Judiciary Committee to fight back against the lawlessness of this regime. But you know, we are strong in numbers. And frankly, you know, I was supposed to go back to, not that I'm patting myself on the back, but I was supposed to go back to beautiful Hawaii today. And instead, I'm here with you guys. All right, so let's fight back, people. And by the way, I know this is a sort of a nonpartisan gathering, but you know, we're all committed to the rule of law. And I also suggest to everybody that as we face the horrible illegality every day of this regime, we should be doing something that restores our souls, that enables us to keep going, to fight back. And one of the things I do, and I gave Barbara and some of my other friends there, I make these bracelets. I make 5 of these every day. These are my WTF bracelets. I have passed out hundreds of these, and I've gotten to the point where I wear a whole array of them because I run into wonderful people who are of like minds who will wear this bracelet as a protective talisman against the illegality of this regime. So I still have some left. If any of you would like to be part of the WTF Ohana, that's family, extended family, come up to me and I will give it to you. But meanwhile, fight, fight, fight.
Thank you so much, Senator. To round us up before our oath ceremony, which is coming up soon, I am thrilled to welcome Barbara Arnwine, who is the president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition and serves as president emeritus of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. A nationally recognized civil rights leader, she is widely known for her leadership in voting rights, especially election protection efforts, and for developing the framework identifying the 72 forms of voter suppression. Throughout her career, Barbara has been a relentless advocate for racial justice, women's rights, disability rights, criminal justice reform, environmental justice, the protection of LGBTQIA+ communities, and people living in poverty. And she is a strong advocate for investing in youth leadership and development. I'm so glad she's here today. Barbara Arnwine.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, we're here because we are in troubled times, but one thing about trouble is that it doesn't count on one factor, that's called us. So we are here to say that we're going to hold people accountable. Good afternoon. Just 2 days ago, this court issued an opinion that reversed decades of judicial jurisprudence, and they trampled upon the hard-fought, blood-soaked voting rights of millions of voters of color. This court emboldened state legislatures to destroy Black, Latino, Native American, and Asian political representation and power. This is a powerful reminder of why we are here today. Why lawyers matter. The court decision is not, let me be very clear, when they issue a decision, it is not the end of the story. What we lawyers do next determines the future course of our democracy. In the United States, we know there are 342 million people, and there are only 1.4 million lawyers. In a nation based on laws, our duty is to the Constitution and upholding the rule of law. Every day in this nation, someone is calling out for legal help, for legal guidance, for legal counsel, for legal help. Be it the undocumented family with ICE at the door, or lurking outside their scheduled hearing. Be it a person wrongfully being denied public benefits that sustain their life, their ability to have health care. Be it a woman needing to exercise her reproductive rights. Be it someone facing unlawful racial, national origin, age, or religious discrimination. Be it a nonprofit trying to incorporate, be it a public interest organization being wrongfully persecuted. Did I make that up, folks? We saw what happened to the Southern be suppressed. We won't be stopped. But be it someone right now in these 23 states, 23 states that have adopted some version of their own SAVE Act, making it hard for people to register to vote, making it hard for women who are married to be able to vote on election day because of the, quote, exact match requirements. So much, there is such a cry, not just a wish, but a cry for our unique skills as lawyers to come out and to help, to assist, to mold the future. Every day we lawyers are called upon to uphold our constitutional protections that are under constant attack, be it the First Amendment rights of free speech or assembly, be it the Fourth Amendment protections from unlawful seizures and searches, be it the Sixth Amendment right to counsel, the 14th, 15th Amendment, even the 13th Amendment is implicated when you read the Louisiana law that says that if you're homeless and you can't show a place to live, that they can imprison you and make you work. What is this? Whose country is this? It's our country, and it's our responsibility. I think back to 61 years ago. Last night, we had a call, folks, put together in 24 hours after this decision in the Louisiana versus Calais case was issued. And guess what, folks? More than 10,000 people showed up on the call. Not only did they show up on the call, we asked them, would they join us on July the 17th through the 19th to be part of the 2026 John Lewis Good Trouble Lives On. And since we had that call over 2 hours ago, so I don't know the update, because the numbers keep growing, we've had over 3,000 people signed up to do things, to host meetings, to canvass, to register, to mobilize, to organize. That's what we need. But they can't do it without us. They need lawyers. They need lawyers to help them to make sure that the work that they do is powerful and protected. So we have a role every day, lawyers, a role to play each and every day. Let's make our training count. Let's make those hard hours that we spent in law school. Let's make those hard hours that we took the bar. Let's make those hard hours that we built our careers on. Let's make sure that we go to reaction, that we go to mobilize, that we're there, because we are the final answer here, that we have to make sure that we stand up and that we are heard. So people, as I say my last words today, remember what we need to do, John Lewis told us, Fannie Lou Haber told us, Dolores Herta told us, Fred Carver-Marceau told us. What we need to do is get into good trouble. Good trouble. Thank you. See you in these streets. See you in this fight. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara. We now come to the moment that is in many ways the heart of what we are gathered here to do. In just a few minutes, every attorney in this crowd is going to raise our right hand, and we are going to say out loud in public, in front of the Supreme Court of the United States, the words we first spoke when we entered this profession. I will introduce shortly Judge Herbert Dixon, who will be leading us in our oath reaffirmation and saying a few words about why it matters. Judge Dixon is a senior judge on the Superior Court of the District of Columbia. He was appointed to consecutive 15-year terms, first by President Ronald Reagan and subsequently by President William Clinton. He is a former chair of the National Conference of State Trial Judges. When Judge Dixon announced his retirement and transition to senior status, the Legal Times National Law Journal dubbed him the technology judge, reflecting his long-standing leadership on issues at the intersection of law and technology. Please join me on the stage, Judge Dixon.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you everyone here for this privilege today. To everyone gathered here, let me say plainly, this oath will be a little different. Law Day is not a private holiday for lawyers, but we do enjoy a good holiday when we can find one. Law Day belongs to everyone. It honors the idea that the rule of law is not the property of any profession, but the shared inheritance of every person who lives under its protection. For that reason, today's oath is not reserved for attorneys. It is for all of you, whatever your profession, vocation, or station in life. You don't need a law degree. You don't need a bar card. You don't need to be a fan of television's Law and Order, or even the movie My Cousin Vinny. I assure you that today's oath is a promise made in good faith. It will not compromise your integrity, your conscience, or your weekend plans. It asks only that we commit ourselves to the principles that make a free society possible. So with that spirit in mind, everyone, truly everyone, if you're able, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. On this occasion of Law Day 2026,
On this occasion of Law Day 2026,
in Washington, D.C.,
in Washington, D.C.,
on the steps of the Supreme Court,
on the steps of the Supreme Court,
I do solemnly affirm
I do solemnly affirm
my devotion to the Constitution of the United States
my devotion to the Constitution of the United States
and to the dignity of all who live beneath its shelter.
and to the dignity of all who live beneath its shelter.
I will uphold its guarantees
I will uphold its guarantees
of liberty, equality, and justice,
of liberty, equality, and justice,
and I will faithfully fulfill these responsibilities
and I will faithfully fulfill these responsibilities
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
I further solemnly affirm
I further solemnly affirm
that I will honor the rule of law,
that I will honor the rule of law,
seek fairness in my community,
seek fairness in my community,
and strengthen the bonds of our shared democracy.
and strengthen the bonds of our shared democracy.
In this spirit,
In this spirit,
I pledge to uphold these principles
I pledge to uphold these principles
in my conduct,
in my conduct,
my community,
and my service,
so that together we may build
so that together we may build
and sustain a nation
and sustain a nation
that fully reflects its highest ideals
that fully reflects its highest ideals
and extends its promises to all.
and extends its promises to all.
You may lower your hand. Thank you, everyone. You are now hereby commissioned to go forth, spread justice and the rule of law. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand one more time so that I can share the best view in front of the Supreme Court right now. All of you, please raise your right hand. Because honestly, seeing all of you here is such an inspiration. I did this last year and we weren't sure. Would people be up for this a second time? And you are, because you will show up every time you're asked. If there's one thing I've learned about lawyers over the past 10 years, since founding Lawyers for Good Government, it is that we show up. Thank you. This is what I want the country to see. This is what I want future generations to see. Not a speech, not a press release. This, lawyers in public, in front of the Supreme Court, with our hands up, with our hearts open, saying, we meant it. We still mean it. I'm also going to ask that when I finish in just a few minutes, folks will gather with me and turn around with the Supreme Court to your back so we can get a group photo of everyone who affirmed our oaths for posterity. Essentially, we will reposition ourselves where each of you are in front of this camera with the Supreme Court behind us and holding our signs. But I won't end on logistics, so let me just say one last thing. Before I close today, I want to thank again the people who made today possible. To the team at Lawyers for Good Government who show up every single day. All of our partners, and to the thousands of attorney volunteers across this country who make our programs possible and are the backbone of everything we do to defend democracy, thank you. So now I will come back to the same three things I asked of you at the start. I asked for your attention, and you've given it. You are still giving it to what is happening in this country, to what is at stake, to what this moment demands of us as a profession. I asked for your bravery, and you are giving that too. You are standing here in public, in front of the Supreme Court. That is not nothing. That is an act of courage at a moment when intimidation is the point. And now I will ask you one last time for your commitment, not the feeling of commitment, the practice of it. Because here is what I know. The response of the legal profession at this moment will be recorded. Our actions or our silence will be judged by future generations. The window for effective action is narrow, and it is now. So here is my challenge to every person leaving here today. Do something specific, something beyond today. File a brief, take a pro bono case, write an op-ed, call your bar association, ask what they're doing. Show up to your school board meeting, talk about due process, call the lawyer in your firm who you know is staying quiet and have the hard conversation. Make a donation to an organization fighting these battles in court every single day. At Lawyers for Good Government, we are here to support you in doing that work. You may not know this, but every single week we send out an email called the Impact Docket, the sole focus of which is to give you anywhere from 3 to 12 concrete actions that you as a lawyer or a supporter can take to defend the rule of law, to support our democracy, and to fulfill your oath. You don't have to know right now what you're going to do, but you do have to commit to doing something. So please go to l4gg.org/law day before you walk away and find out how to stay engaged. There are QR codes on every one of the signs that we distributed earlier today. Scan a QR code, go to that link, fill out the form. We will help you take action. Subscribe to the Impact Docket. Sign up for pro bono opportunities. Connect with this community. I can tell you this is the most incredible community that I've ever been a part of, and it is such a privilege to be part of this community. Every person working right now to roll back our rights, to dismantle the institutions our predecessors built and bled for, needs to find out what we are made of. We are paying attention. We are brave. And we are committed, not just to the words we spoke today, but to the work ahead. So thank you for your courage. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for recommitting publicly to the promise you made. I know that we are going to keep our promise. So let's go out there and prove it. Please remember, gather up here for the photograph. Thanks, everybody.
So, do you want to stop the live stream? I kind of want to show. Is it weird for me to show?
Can we get this moved back so we have it?
Yeah. Oh, the cart? Yeah.
If somebody lost this set of keys, dropped it on the ground, anybody recognizes these, we have them at the audio booth.
All right, can I yell instructions for you?
All right, yeah. All right, you can stand on the stage. We're going to try. As many people want to get on the stage, yeah.